In or around the summer of 2019, I accompanied my father to a doctor's appointment. This was in Washington Heights. In fact, it was a doctor's office right next to the Gonzalez residence. As we were waiting to be seen, I surprisingly encountered one of your mothers. It was a pleasant conversation. We reminisced about the times of old. We spoke about you. And she asked about my mother and how she was doing. We didn't exchange numbers afterwards. We just went our separate ways. But there isn't a single day that goes by without me thinking, what if? What if I took your mother out to a very nice seafood dinner and then never called her again?
Fuck all that patient shit, they wanna argue. I ain't take the bait for shit, this ain't our school. Fuck your little highbrow critique before I bow defeat. Ain't walked down my street, never been a that's the way it is type of dude. Fuck that, I'ma tell you how it is type of rule. Bust that type of moves, light a fuse to bring light to that type of bruise. So deep under people's skin, we could only feel it, but we can't see it. Lot these dudes only type it, they can't be it. Champion any man region, fuck what can't be and can't beat them when they can't see them on that freedom man being. Yeah, and I barely proper trust that I beat Diddy on any care lingo. Keep with me, many did a thing so right with the blood of fakes though, and it's very rare to ink low. But honestly, fuck a rap compliment. What the fuck's a bar to a profit, bitch? What the fuck's a threat to the option list? I need this shit to breathe, then I got to live. Yeah. Think the time is yours, cause online is yours. That's what you grinding for. Watch when we cut the net like the Final Four. I bet you don't got the chest to back that Lions roar. Pussy, yeah. Push me, I promise. I'm used to stress, all I could be is honest. I used to fret that I couldn't even keep conscious. Thanks to my weakness, I couldn't be the strongest out. Yeah. Situation getting critical. Stop playing with me this year, man. I try to tell y'all, I'm not playing no fucking games this year. Don't look at me no type of way. Don't fucking subtweet me. Whatever you want to do, don't do shit this year. Look.
Okay. That was a true story, by the way. This is your Week 3 recap. Bundy here, you there. First, I'm going to run you through the Week 3 scores, then we're going to talk about a trade, and then I'll tell you to go fuck yourselves in the middle of everything. You know how we do. So, Team Bundy defeats Joelicus Maximus 116-100. We have finally gotten our very first victory of the 2021 season, getting 16 points from Justin Tucker, 16 points from Alexander Madison, and 36 points from Josh Allen. This obviously was a very historic week. I've never taken pride in owning somebody at the time of a great play or a great milestone, but that moment when Justin Tucker kicked that ball through the uprights, I said that's exactly why I picked Justin Tucker where I picked him in the draft, which I'm not even sure where it was. Let's see if I can. I'm going back into the draft here. Let's see. I made it a case. I made it my business to pick up a kicker very quickly, and I remember one of you mocked me for it as soon as I did it. I picked up Justin Tucker in the 11th round. That's well before people start picking kickers. So I deliberately picked him because, of course, last year I have my philosophy of, I had Lamar Jackson, so I have to accompany with Justin Tucker. This year I didn't accompany the Buffalo kicker with Josh Allen. I just knew that I had to pick up Justin Tucker because if there's any team that's going to have confidence in their kicker to be able to perform those kind of kicks, because I'm sure all kickers in the league would love to take a rip at it, and I'm sure there'll be a couple of, 66 or 65 yarders, if I'm not mistaken. I think the record was held by Matt Prater, who did it a couple years ago. I think it was 64 yards. I'm sure a lot of people are going to take their hacks at it, especially with all the attention that Justin Tucker received after all that. But they put him in a position to actually take that risk, so that's always going to be points for me. Of course, he could miss things like that, but as you can see, he gets the job done. But we beat Joelicus Maximus 116-100. He was a high-scoring team. He was the best thing since sliced bread, and now Joe is going to do what Joe does. La Bamba loses to Ewok Rape, 74 to 90. Eric getting balanced scoring from his running backs, 15 from Aaron Jones, Chris Carson with 14, and 22 from Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't seem like his Hydra performed the way it normally does. On the other side, I think there has to be a bit of concern if you're Pedro. Not because you lost, because Pedro, I think, already had one victory. I think there has to be a bit of concern if you're Pedro because Saquon Barkley finally showed up this week, but just with 15 points. You know, I'm looking at their schedule. Week 5, they face the Dallas Cowboys. Week 6, they face the Rams. It's not automatic that a quarterback with a struggling offense is, a running back with a struggling offense is going to have a hard time just because they're playing behind. But, you know, if he scores 2 points week 1, 6 points week 2, and now week 15, week 3 is his highest with 15 points, you got to start to question that number 1 pick by Pedro. I understand that Saquon Barkley was going to be picked number 1 by somebody. I just think Pedro did it because he was homesick. Show me your TDs. Ties up with Goku, 80 to 80. Much credit should be given to Ed, who had 3 points from his star running back who got hurt just last week, and he still managed to tie with Orlando. This is the reason why I tell you Orlando's team is shit, because Orlando's team depends on Kyler Murray to have a above average performance in order to do anything. You know, it's not to say that Orlando doesn't have any tools or any weapons on his team. It's just not as good as other teams. I'm not going to go quite as far as to say that Orlando has the worst team, but as the weeks continue to roll along, Orlando will show you that he is that. So I'm not saying it. I'm implying it like a motherfucker. But I will say that just pay attention to that. Pay attention to the fact that Ed's team isn't that great, but it's, you know, it has its solid points. 80 points. 3 points from an injured superstar running back, and Orlando still wasn't able to topple him. Rolo Tomassi defeats Charles Lee J. Ray 86 to 84. Nothing much to report here except 30 points from Herbert. Thanos and Highlander tie up at 106. Negative 3 points from Hensel's defense really fucked him up. From the 49ers defense, they struggled against the Green Bay Packers. And on the other side, I sort of love this because, you know, Andy, once again, whenever he does this, I always refer to you as Andy Reid. You know, you transform into some sort of a football sage that thinks he can fucking predict all outcomes. I like when this happens, and when this happens early in the season, as Andy swaps Kirk Cousins in for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson getting 18 points and Kirk Cousins getting 24. So Andy feels like a genius, and I like that Andy moves about with that much confidence because he will fall flat on his face eventually. So as I said, we're going to get into a trade, and before I discuss this trade, I didn't notice this, and, you know, my apologies to the two parties who did this trade just like maybe 2 weeks ago. I had no idea that Eric and Ed had swapped tight ends. I didn't know that George Kittle was sent over to Eric's team and Kyler Pitts was sent over to Ed. I had no idea that you guys made that trade. It was so silent. It was so quiet. If you guys mention this in the chat, you know, it's not a requirement for you to do, but I don't know, maybe next time as a courtesy just to let us know, or just simply to trash talk, be like, yeah, motherfucker, I traded this guy. You know, I feel at the very least, you know, it gives those inactive owners like a reminder, like, hey, other people are moving and shaking. You might want to do something as well. But there was a trade this week, and this trade was between La Bamba and Charles Lee J. Ray, and the trade goes as follows. La Bamba sends over Juju Smith-Schuster and Cordell Patterson to Charles Lee J. Ray in exchange for Miles Sanders. What do I think about this trade? I think that Charles Lee J. Ray has fallen from grace. He really has fallen from grace, because I do believe that last week I mentioned a 3-team trade involving Ed, me, and J. Ray. And in that proposal, I said that I would send Nick Chubb over to J-Ray. Now, it's all good and well to sort of be the fantasy owner that always thinks that, hey, I find the diamond in the rough. I find those sleepers, and the sleepers are what gets me through my season. I don't make trades. I don't overpay for players that I think are going to underperform. That's what I think J-Ray was thinking, unless he wasn't ever seriously entertaining the idea of trading over, doing a trade with me in exchange for Kareem Hunt. He's fallen from grace because there was no negotiating. There was no. It's a better quarter. It's a better running back. If you're gonna tell me that Kareem Hunt isn't a better running back than Cordell Patterson, a guy who's had 3 strong weeks, it seems like. Let's see what Cordell Patterson has done so far this season. Let me have to go to J-Ray's team. On another note, I also want to mention this with Pedro. No one cares that you have Josh Gordon. The days of Josh Gordon, popping up on your feed, on your news feed of like, well, he's a free agent and he's going to sign with somebody and he's been cleared of all the marijuana stuff. That shit died out like 2 or 3 years ago. Like, NFL teams can continue to give Josh Gordon as many chances as they want. As far as fantasy, no one gives a fuck. So I found it kind of laughable when Pedro was so quick to pick him up as a free agent and then he was signed days later. So Cordell Patterson in weeks 1, 2, and 3 has scored 6 points, 18 points, and 10 points. He's got about 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing and 1 passing. And it's not like he gets a lot of carries. So it looks like he's big on the passing game with Matt Ryan, so he seems to have some form of value. But to not even throw an offer for Kareem Hunt, who's obviously a much more valuable fantasy core, you didn't even move and shake. You didn't even say, look, fuck Ed, I want to do this trade with you because I need a better running back. That's what makes me feel like this J-Ray's just making a move just for the sake of making a move. I'm not accusing them of doing any Alfredian stuff because in exchange, Pedro gets Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders ain't shit, but I'm assuming that Pedro wants to do some sort of a stacking with Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts. And I don't think the rest of the league looks at that and gives 2 shits because Jalen Hurts is somebody who's been performing like a regular quarterback. Like, he's just putting up 20s, 21s. He's not putting up lucky Kyler Murray numbers. So, but it's understood. Maybe Pedro is seeing the success that that Paul's had this week with the Chargers because Austin Eckler, if I'm not mistaken, I think he got 16 along with the 30 that Herbert got, and I do believe that Keenan Allen got a touchdown as well. So maybe he's seeing the success that having all those players on one team, and there is some power to that, but I don't think Philly holds a lot of firepower. So that's all I'll say about this trade. I'll just say that I'm a little disappointed in Jay that he didn't even throw me an offer after I publicly said you can have Kareem Hunt. And this isn't Eric's rules of engagement thing. This isn't like Eric's whole, hey, if I send you an offer, it's like as a courtesy, you should send it over to me. Not at all. I don't feel entitled to a trade offer. I just kind of think like, my only question is, did you offer anyone else something for another running back? Or did you just think that Cordell Patterson was going to solve all of your issues? I don't know what happened. I don't know what's wrong with Jay. Actually, I do know what's wrong with Jay. It's what happens when you don't have a fucking soul. And along with not having a soul means you don't have common sense either. So congratulations, you are a proud new owner of a sleeper who can die out in week 7 when Matt Ryan Ryans. As a separate note, I did want to bring up the ties because, of course, this was the first time that we've had multiple ties, I think, in any week. The history of ties, as you guys may imagine, on the leaderboard of ties, is Andy at top of that list with 6. Jay and Paul tied with 3 at second. Hensel and Orlando with 2 apiece. And just this week, Ed got his very first tie. Along with that is a little bit of fantasy trivia here. The other owner that had a tie was Reef, who was then the NY Heatles. Did he ever explain what the Heatles meant? We may have given him shit about it, but like Reef was such a he was such a lax guy. He never even paid attention to the league or whatever. What the hell was the NY Heatles? Was that supposed to be like a play on word on the Beatles or some shit like that? That's one of the worst names we've ever had. Maybe Reef is the man who is behind all these horrible division names, right? Is that what it is? Let's move on to the week 4 matchups. Of course, I face Show Me Your TD starting tonight. I've got the Bengals defense going out there, and Ed has his very promising looking rookie, Jamar Chase, who's he's got a 16 week 1, 11 week 2, and 18 just this past week. It's a short week. Does he do that again? Are his legs a little tired? Are they a little, maybe. Let's see what happens there. And of course, like I said, I have the defense on the other side against the Jacks. I can only hope to get some turnovers, rookie quarterback, let's see what happens there. But I certainly wasn't interested in starting the Denver defense against the Ravens. But I will say that Ed's team is in trouble as well, because Ed didn't even bother to back up Christian McCaffrey, and I think Paul ended up picking up Chuba. I'm not sure what the guy's last name is. He ended up picking up Christian McCaffrey's backup. I'm not sure how many weeks Christian McCaffrey's going to be out, if it is going to be a couple weeks, if it's just going to be 1 week, but Ed is behind the 8 ball already. Being 1-1-1, and now he essentially doesn't really have a superstar running back, which in this league, you're in trouble if you don't have that. Ewok Rape faces Rolo Thomas C. Then we have La Bamba going up against Platanos at your mother's house. Hensel, come on. Let's talk, Hensel. Why don't you come on? Cut the name. I'll take it as a sign of solidarity. If you just cut the name, okay? Joelicus Maximus goes up against Charles Lee J. Ray. If Charles Lee J. Ray loses again this week, I think we can almost slot him in there for one of those lottery picks that Orlando was talking about. Goku going up against Highlander. And this is a tough matchup for Andy, of course. This is a tough matchup for Goku, of course, who's going to find himself in a lot of tough matchups this year, rather. If Kyler Murray isn't able to score 40 points, right? Like, Orlando's got no shot if it's not that. One thing that I forgot to do, I forgot to give you the standings. At top of the Gremlin League is Ewok Wape. I'm Elmer Fudd all of a sudden. Ewok Rape at 3-0. Joelicus Maximus at 2-1. Rolo Thomas C at 2-1. Team Toronto Bundy at 1-2, and Charles Lee J. Ray at 0-3. Over on the Child's Play, whatever the fuck. These are dumb. By the way, I want to mention this. Have any of you noticed that there's like a new, I don't know what channel it is, but there's like a new Child's Play show coming out? And one thing that I will say, even though I'm not really intrigued to watch it, if one of you guys or somebody else mentions to me that it's worth watching, like, maybe I'll check out the first episode. But one thing that I can appreciate that they did is that Chucky's face looks just like it did in the original movie. I think when they strayed away from that shit was a huge mistake. Like, it just looked like Chucky on steroids at one point. Like, it was just like Chucky looked like some of those mutated dolls in Toy Story after a while. And I get that was, part of the fucking character. But I like the fact that he looks exactly like, like when he fucking threw Aunt Maggie out of the window. That was fucking epic. But the Child's Play 2 division, Highlander at top of that at 2-0-1. Show Me Your TDs at 1-1-1. Platanos at 1-1-1. La Bamba at 1-2-0. I shouldn't have to mention the 0, but I guess maybe in this division I should. And Goku at the bottom of the division with his reserve seat. He's there, sort of like he's waiting for a fucking iPhone, at 0, 2, and 1. The top scorers in the league are as follows. At top of the scoring, we have Joelicus Maximus with 325, Highlander with 324, Ewok Rape with 314, Show Me Your TDs with 287, and Goku, Kyler Murray, with 285. I've been really tough on Orlando this recap, haven't I? Just to give you guys a little clue about my little joke at the beginning, it's not the Gonzalez. It's not Mama Gonzalez. It's not Mama Mercedes. It's not Mama Cespedes. And it's not Mama Nieves. I'll let you guys use the process of elimination to figure that out. As always, may your quarterbacks get hurt before they leave the locker room. May your running backs pull their hamstrings. And may your wide receivers get arrested for marijuana possession. Go fuck yourselves.